Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and in this video I'm going to do the character review for Ice Spear Khun Aguero. We're going to go over the usual points, so I'm going to talk about how good this unit is, then we're going to look at the skills, revolution, exclusive equipment, gear, ignition weapon, rapport, and finally some team recommendations. Before getting started with all of that, I just wanted to quickly mention that what you are seeing on the left is the new version of the spreadsheet. Is still not shared with you, and this is just the investment tab that's been reworked with the tier list information and some more information that we're going to see during the course of this video. Is still in the phase of being updated for most units. I focused on Khun, Aguero, and BAM obviously because I had to release their videos, so they are mostly done, but all the other units, I still have to recheck all the values and make changes. So keep that in mind. But again, you cannot really see it. You can only see the small preview that you will see in this video and the one for BAM. But okay, that being said, I will say immediately how good this unit is. And as you can already see from the tier list ranking that I assigned to him, is really good. Even a low or high deficit, regardless of that, is going to provide a lot of value to the team. He has nice survivability, so he's not going to die that frequently. Obviously, the higher the deficit, the harder it is to survive, but he's not in a bad position, I would say. It can reliably survive even in those scenarios. And his utility is extremely high. Potentially, he could also deal some DPS with him being an assassin and with some part of his kit trying to tell you, look, this guy is supposed to deal damage. And he does, but most SSR units, as we already know, are not going to compete in damage with any other unit. Still, this guy is solid, his damage is good, but I wouldn't over rely on it. You can make him work, but probably not worth the effort. I would mainly use him for his utility and utility alone. This guy is a close range unit, but I wouldn't use him as the only frontline of the team. You can, if you don't care about your team being crushed by the enemy, maybe you are already running all your units with resistances, or you have Rainbow 5 Heaven with a lot of energy and etc and can survive and make your whole team stay alive, in which case you can use him as the only close range unit of the team. But I would say in most scenarios I would have another frontline unit to support him, and that's because he's going to dash at the start of the battle, so his aggro is not that intuitive or not even that impactful at all. So yeah, that's more or less a quick overview of this unit. I would say we can just have a look at the skills and see all the things that he provides to the teams who are going to deploy him in. We have the passive, which is a bit kind of underwhelming. I would say this is the part where he, at the start of the battle, is going to create a barrier for himself with quite the scaling, but attacks for the SSR units is generally lower. So even though this multiplier is quite high, the size of the barrier is going to be acceptable, but not to be excessively relied upon, let's say. He's going to then dash at the farthest enemy, dealing 1000% of his attack as damage to all enemies along the path and inflicting frost on them. Now the frost mechanic is really good. In general, we will see also when we look at the special move, and provides some nice swiftness decrease on the enemies and also some defense decrease on the enemies. Well, mainly the frost is associated to the defense decrease, but with the exclusive equipment is also going to apply some swiftness with this passive. I don't know why it's a passive, but it's basically an active skill. But okay. So as it is, it would only cast it one time per battle, but then with the exclusive equipment is going to be cast after the special move. So it's going to be cast quite frequently. The Revolution 4 effect, we're going to look at it later, but I will say that I'm still unclear how it functions. It seems like all the damage dealt also by teammates should ignore 80% of the enemy defense, but I couldn't really tell for certain if it's working as intended, because Frost is already decreasing defense, so I'm not sure how it's working. And also it lasts for so short that I'm not really sure, and in the arena simulation I couldn't test it properly. If you know how this works, if it's only for Khun's damage or also for the allies, let me know in the comments down below, but regardless, it's a necessary step for Revolution 5, so it's okay. Then we have Ring of Ice. This is another barrier with the same coefficient and the same duration as the passive one. I believe they do stack together, no way to be certain, but I believe that's the case, because otherwise its survivability couldn't really be explained in many ways. So yeah. And then he's going to deal 160% of his attack as damage every second to nearby enemies. Quite okay damage. Is a bit low and a bit spread over time, so not really good to burst down enemies, but still is nice additional damage. And while the Ring of Ice is active, he's going to have 40% Magic Pierce. Now, this is only applied to himself, obviously, and I don't really like it. This is basically just a barrier and some more damage for him, but in most scenarios you won't really care about this. Then we have Frozen Rampage. This is another active skill that deals AoE damage 4 times. It's a total of 800% attack, again pretty low multiplier, and reduce the enemy magic resistance by 10%, 15 with the exclusive equipment, with a maximum of 4 stacks, so up to 60% magic resistance decrease for 12 seconds. Really solid magic resistance decrease, and not much else we can say about that. Then we have this special move, probably the most important part of his kit. He's going to throw an ice spear at the farthest enemy, dealing 800% attack as damage. I don't know why they omitted the attack there, but okay. Inflicting frost on them for 4 seconds, quite short. That reduces their defense by 40% and creates an ice zone. Now the ice zone is the important part. It's going to last for 7 seconds, dealing 600% damage every second. That's really good. This is a nice multiplier, and the total amount is really high, which is probably where most of his damage is coming from. And reduce the enemy swiftness by 60. I think at level 1 it was 40, so it doesn't even scale that much with levels. And yeah, then he's going to be immune to status effects while casting the skill, pretty obvious. The Revolution 5 is really massive here. It's guaranteed to land, so regardless of how much evasion the enemy has, for example, you're facing an enemy Ren with a bull that has 160% of his evasion, so that's quite a ton. Some units might miss against Ren specifically, but this guy is not. Also against the Zahard, for example, is always going to land this attack, though against the Zahard with all the barriers you have is not the best matchup, but whatever. Really good. And reduce energy by 200 every second. This is massive. This is a really nice energy decrease that's going to last for a long time, and in most matchups is going to keep it up quite consistently, really preventing the enemy team from casting annoying special moves. Unfortunately, the AoE of this high zone is not that big, so we cannot really rely on it to be applied to more than 1 or 2 units, but it's still a really good debuff to have. So yeah, this is pretty much his kit. I will say that he has a lot of stuff: magic resistance decrease, defense decrease, he has HP recovery block. Well, no, we still haven't seen that because it's in the exclusive equipment, but let's have a look at the exclusive equipment first, I'd say, and then we can see here. So the first part is what I mentioned before, is going to apply to the passive, also the swiftness reduction by 40 for 8 seconds. The level 2 is what I already mentioned. It increases the stack of the magic resistance decrease from 10% to 15, so the total is 60% magic resistance decrease. Then we have level 3 is going to be what resets the passive, making it actually usable more times. So after using the special move, is going to select the target to immediately activate the passive. Good. And then we have Heist Zone is enhanced, blocking the HP recovery of enemies in range while it is active. Really, really massive stuff. Unfortunately, it has crit damage increase as an additional stat, pretty much worthless, but overall, all 4 of these effects are really, really good. Really great exclusive equipment. Now, I kind of skipped on the revolution. I mean, I mentioned the effects. This one that I'm not really sure if it applies to allies as well. And this one that is super massive. You really want this Revolution 5 is really, really good. But yeah, other than that, as you can see from my investment, I wouldn't really upgrade anything. Unless you want to go for more damage, in which case you could try. I'm just not confident enough to be wasting my orange mats on this, especially if an EX unit is coming in January. We don't know, but could be possible. Everything else is kind of not necessary. We have defense, maybe could help with a bit of survivability. For sure, bonus elimination energy is not that important. Max cooldown reduction could be used, but nothing really important. I would just say go for Revolution 5 main node, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Let me also check if I already updated the Revolution part of the spreadsheet. I think so. So this is where things are a bit different. You already are familiar with the first part here where I put the tier based on the different levels of investment. Okay, I don't know why I moved like that, but okay. Here I also copied the stuff that was present on another tab that was the Revolution tab. So all the information on the tier 4, 5, and 6, plus the priority on the subnodes. Before in the other tab I had like all the different entries ordered with a number. Now I just have the different values here with a major then sign. And as you can see here in the title part, I put in bold the stats that have an higher priority, in italic the ones that are only to be upgraded if you need them up to a certain amount, like accuracy and crit rate. If you need them, they're quite important. Otherwise, the ones that are crossed, I don't think I've yet to cross anything, but I will think about it or not, but we'll see, are just to be ignored because irrelevant in adventure. And here I just added a comment. You don't really need to invest in any subnode, save resources. Just a brief comment on this. And then we have here the kind of expected cost, so up to 1650 if you decide to go for the T5, and then 0 for the Shining Revolution fragments, because I would say you don't really need to do any kind of investment here. And yeah, this is kind of the changes that I made to this part. And then we have the usual ignition weapon part that we're going to look at right now. First, let's have a quick look at the gear, but there is not much to mention. I would just say it's dot 4 and you're done with it. You don't really need anything else. Obviously, if you are in need of some more accuracy because you don't have enough from archive, etc., then get some, but it's just 97, so it's not really going to help much. And crit rate and crit damage, pretty much irrelevant. So just say go for slot 4 and that's it. And yeah, for the ignition weapon, this is a bit trickier. Like here I wrote as the best in slot Rafflesia with Sela as a substitute, because this guy doesn't have like invincibility frames, or it doesn't have immunity to status effects, so having it blocked every once in a while is a nice addition, plus the energy regen, really good. So I would say Rafflesia might be the best in slot. But I think also Sela would work just fine. I'm running him with the Sela right now. And I would just say go resistances, forget about anything else, and you'll be okay. That's kind of the idea here. Not much to say. And for Rapport, I think I will definitely remove this part. You have guaranteed hits on the special move if you go for the Rainbow 5 and Revolution 5 part. But still, it's 100 accuracy, that's basically free. Lower relevance compared to a DPS, obviously, but if you have the spare gifts, definitely take him there. No problem. And yeah, that's more or less it for the different points. And for the last one, that is team recommendations, let's just head over to, okay, misclick, Arena Simulation. And I would say in general, it will function, like it's difficult to recommend a specific team because it's not a DPS unit, so you cannot build a team around him. You could, but let's say you want to use him as a support slash utility unit. You can definitely slot him in a lot of different teams. Best ones would be magic damage dealers, but is not restricted only to those because he has defense shred, which can be applied to everyone. Obviously, will work at 100% of his potential with magic damage dealers, but you don't have to be forced to only use him there. Now, he has small AoE attacks, especially with the special move, so a unit like Irang could come in handy to group all the units up and have him apply the HP recovery block to multiple of them. That could be really good. This is not going to work well against units that move a lot and that are resistant to status effects, not because they're not sucked in the special move of Irang. Like for example, Urek would still be sucked in, but then it would move here and there, which would make him a target of his special move, kind of annoying. And units like Anniversary Iwa are also quite tricky for Irang, because when Anniversary Iwa casts the special move, he's going to move at the back of the enemy team, and that's quite annoying, especially because if he casts the special move on her while she's at the back, then you pull her again, then you're going to miss out on the HP recovery block from him. Still, good combo most of the times. Obviously, if you're going to go for a mono yellow team, right now we only have these two guys as the supports. And for the frontline unit, if you need to have one, because it's not mandatory, I would say, you can obviously always run this guy even though it doesn't have great synergies with anyone. You could run this guy even though he sucks. You could decide to go for a mono ranged team, let's say, something like this, so that this guy can give energy to multiple units and you're not too scared of being like crushed from the enemy team, even though you don't have a frontline unit. This could also be a good option. Or you could just go with tank hats and be happy with that. If we don't want to go for a mono yellow team, then obviously we have more useful tanks and front lines. You could really use a multitude of them from any elements. You can pick whichever one you want. You can pick this guy. You can pick, well, okay, I wouldn't go for Ejin because otherwise it's kind of trash. Also from this one is a bit tricky. You can use Reflejo if you want. He's a pretty strong one. You can use Zahard. You can use Urek, Dima, Shani. Even this guy if you're not already using him and if you have him. So yeah, probably you could be using Yuri once she's out, even though she also doesn't move. But at least if she's the one here at the front, she might still draw some aggro while focusing, and then she's going to cast the special move and still be in the middle of the fight. So she could be potentially an option. We'll see. But yeah, this is definitely a good team. But if we ignore yellow for now, you can really run him wherever you want. Because we have the new DPS unit, so BAM. I ran them together quite a bit. They work. They don't have the best of synergies. They overlap a lot of their kits. They both have swiftness decrease. They both have defense shred. They both have magic resistance decrease. They overlap a bit too much to be that impactful, but they do work together. Obviously, you can also use him with white, so in a normal purple team kind of thing. You can also do something like this, so you will have increased survivability thanks to Karaka drawing most of the aggro. And then this guy blocking HP recovery, really good. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult to recommend teams. Just take your magic damage dealer and then try to slot this guy in. It's not really going to be too hard to do. And yeah, will depend a lot on which kind of unit you have. Could even be used maybe with an Evankel if you really want to. Like maybe an Evankel. Well, yeah, with a Garam there. Sorry, not Garam, Anak. And then for the last two, I guess it will kind of depend. Maybe we could also do something like this, and the last slot, maybe this one. Yeah. For the last slot, it will depend. But yeah, you can also just pick your magic damage dealer and slot this guy in. I would say in most scenarios it will work better on a yellow team probably. It's just that the yellow team doesn't really have a good front line to place there. That's the only unfortunate thing. I would say this guy is the best option, but the higher the deficit, the squishier this guy gets. So yeah, you kind of get the idea. There is not much else to say. It will work plug and play in most teams where you need to block HP recovery. And when you don't, then you still have a lot of really good value. The swiftness decrease alone is really nice to slow down the enemy team and preventing them from spamming too many skills. So really good unit overall. I would say that's pretty much it, guys, for this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!